Welcome back to another episode of the Stat Connect. Joe and I are excited to be back after having to take a bye week. Although I think after that Oregon State game, everyone wanted to have a bye
Well,
week.
I needed a week off. I needed to watch some different football games. I mean, seriously, what in the Norm Chow happened? It's just that was rough. And I've been kind of sounding the alarm bell here for a little while, talking about some struggles on offense and thinking those struggles run pretty deep. And Oregon State, great defense on the road, really tough place to play. But my goodness, that was no doubt a tough game for Ute fans to watch. I confess to having fast forwarded through it a little bit there at the end when it started to become clear what was in the offing. Uh, I think probably the less said the better. We all the folks listening to this podcast have exerted a lot of energy thinking about that football game and probably ready to move on, as I
Yeah.
think are you and I, Matt. So personally, that's all I have to say.
Well, and I think a lot of people, especially the one thing I do want to address is that these types of games happen. It happens to almost any college football team, and there's a lot of I'm seeing a lot on social media of the sky's falling. Will the Utes win another game this season? They will. In fact, I think they will this week, and I think they'll win several more. It's just that everything finally came to a head as far as all the injuries, and it just hit that brink. So don't feel like what you saw of this Utah team against Oregon State is what you're going to continue to see. There could be a lot of changes. A bye week helps so much with the health of a team, and so we did just get the breaking news that Chris Curry is going to be out for the remainder of the year. So that's another hit to the depth of the running back room, which is just terrible to hear, especially when he's already had to battle so much with injuries. But yeah, I think there's reasons to be positive, and I'm sure we'll be able to talk about some of those today.
Yeah, you have every team is going to have their worst performance of the season and their best performance of the season on offense and defense, and I think there's a really really high likelihood that was the worst performance of the season on offense for the Utes, and
Yeah.
that it's nowhere to go but up from there, and hopefully we see quite a bit of better play from that team. But let's move on. Let's turn the page again because it's been a couple of weeks, and let's talk
Yeah.
about this upcoming game against Cal. We got some interesting stuff going on this week. We've got some guests, don't we? This
Yeah.
not
Yeah, this is great. We're gonna have Dustin Birch and Alex Markham join us today.
party.
They should be here any minute. Talk about this upcoming game and lots of good things to look at here. There's Dustin. There's Alex.
Mr.
What's
Birch.
up,
Hi, guys.
boys?
Welcome to the show,
How we
guys. Good to have you.
doing?
I like the force.
You guys causing too much trouble, Joe? You behaving, man?
No, I'm just sounding the doom and gloom bells everywhere I go.
Hey, I trust Matt. I trust him not to break you fans' hearts, man. But oh man, you and your numbers sometimes, there, buddy.
Yeah, it hurts. It hurts being right. Sometimes you're like, man, I hope this is wrong, but sometimes you're right.
Hey, I learned something though from that game, and that was I saw a lot of things that had me a lot of red flags, I should say, and I think I let my abundance of positivity overcome that thought, especially when I saw that Oregon State was 14-1 in their last 15 games, and then just the matchup situation with the players that Utah had because of injuries. I think I was a little too optimistic and should have gone more with my head than my heart. But that's something to learn, and so through the rest of the season, you're going to see more head than heart here.
Well, we need your ray of sunshine, man. It's always welcome. Dustin, how have you been handling it? How have you been handling the season? You adjusting your priors, or how you feeling?
I mean, honestly, and it's the main story of the season, not just Cam, but the injury list is insane. I mean, with Curry's news today that he's completely out, right? So Curry and Bernard are 2 and 3 in the running back room. Cam and Rose are 1 and 2 in the quarterback room. We're missing our top tight end. We're missing an offensive lineman. We're missing right now 3 of the top 7 wide receivers. that have played sort of sparingly,
Ah.
not to mention the defensive losses, right? So as frustrating as the Oregon State game was for every single Utah fan, like, you know, I'm sure, Joe, I think you and I were talking about this earlier, but the average was like 2 yards of play. Just horrible. We're 4-1 with half a team. So, you know, I'm disappointed because that's a game that's winnable. And in the Pac-12, it's hard to give up winnable games, but that's not a bad start. And I think we're actually, you know, the passing game's got to get moving, and obviously we'll see how that goes here the next couple of weeks. But to be 4-1 with that list is actually a credit to Whittingham's coaching job.
And not the best performance from some of the teams that Utah has beaten, but 4-1 with wins over, you know, legitimate brand teams. Win over Florida, win over Baylor. You can quibble about how good they are this year, but they still look good on the resume. And Utah is about halfway through the season here and going well. And Matt alluded to this. I look at it the same way. I think Utah's moving to 5-1 here this week. Ultimately, I mean, a lot rides obviously on the quarterback situation. It's sort of a will they, won't they conversation. We don't have a lot of evidence on that. I'm not really sure which way to go on it.
Well, I'll be interested to hear Dustin's PFF grades on some of the Cal guys, because they had some. They're actually getting hit by the injury bug too, and it's looking like their top defensive player and top offensive player might be out against Utah, and that would be huge.
So, want to interject for everybody here real fast. All right, so it's you guys' show. I don't want to hijack it. When we ended up putting this concept together, I absolutely loved it. I think it's going to be. I think it's awesome already. I think it's going to be even greater over time, right? Love adding Dustin to this mix. You know, you guys can boot my ass out and you three have fun, right? But, you know, there's a key element I want to talk about this week, right? And everybody has kind of known over time that, you know, I mean, when it comes to specific issues with the team and stuff like that, there's certain things that I have a lot of insight on, right? One of those being Cam Rising. It's been some crazy headlines, not just all season, but especially these last 2 weeks, right? And you know, credit to Chris Kamrani the other day on that article that he had with Dr. Elatroche. Highly respected, right? You know, within all that, you can go back and forth on who's been right, who's been wrong, what should have been said, what shouldn't have. I definitely feel like there's different ways that it could have been handled to kind of ease the fan base and not get blowback my direction, every other media person's direction that's kind of been talking about it, which God bless you guys. I love you fans, but oh man, these last 2 weeks have been tough.
It's frustrating though. It's frustrating for fans.
Yeah. You know, it's one of those where it's like, you know, question somebody's credibility. Well, guess what? Things change from one day to the next. Okay. Has everything been transparent on this? No. I mean, you guys can go back and you can listen to certain tapes. Different things are being said, right? But the thing that everybody needs to understand and realize, you know, I know damn good and well Cam was extremely close to playing against Oregon State, okay? The thing that held that back is that extra portion of the bye week leading into Cal, right? So all of a sudden he gets 2 more extra weeks to be able to work out the kinks, get comfortable, get that leg that much more improved, right? It hasn't been Cam, obviously. It has not been Cam saying, I can't play. So I'm glad that article was put out. I'm glad that they went in depth. I feel awful for Cam on the fact that he had to allow the doctor to be able to do that so that people understood. And I felt even more awful with all the times I've talked to Cam over the years, hearing his voice on the radio show with Bill Riley. He's affected by it. Okay. Everything that's gone on, the fans questioning, you know, his motivation, his desire, he's affected by it, you know? And so wanted to make sure, get on with you guys on this stuff and say, look, there's one thing in that article and it adds up with everything I've been hearing. Okay. Where he has said Cam is a week or 2 away. Okay. So when you guys are going through your analysis and stuff like that, Joe, Hey, you're doom and gloom, man. I love what the numbers say, but sorry, my dog's trying to button the picture here, but hey, we're taking this approach as Utah gets their guy back. Utah.
All right. Well,
So,
bump up all my
let's have fun
projections.
from that route. And Joe, I know where you live, man. So if you need more doom and gloom, I might just shut my camera off and see you at the end of the podcast. All right, buddy.
That's good. That's good. Alex, thanks for the guidance and the real talk there. Much appreciated.
Always, man. Hey, let's hope it holds true.
Yeah. So. Well, let us have this conversation as if it were true, and what do we predict is going to happen in this football game with Cam Rising coming back? What do you want to maybe Matt? You want to start? Kind of see how you see it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think every week I've kind of looked at it as though Cam were coming back, just because we didn't know. And so, I guess there was a couple of weeks where it was pretty clear, but I think in this game, even if Cam Rising does come back, which I think would be absolutely phenomenal for this offense, I still think they would ease him in, and I still think that Kyle Whittingham wants to get the run game going. And so I think I still think in this game against Cal, you're going to see a heavy dose of the run game. Hopefully that's Jaquindon Jackson. I had a conversation on social media with some fans, and they were saying that the run game has just been terrible. And I said, take a look at the stats when Jaquindon Jackson's been playing. He's averaging over 6 yards a carry. So if they get Jackson back, that is huge. He impacts the run game in such a positive way. And so I think they're going to want to run the ball a lot. Cal's been pretty susceptible to the run game. And so I think they'll want to do that. Cal's also terrible against the pass. They're number 10 in the Pac-12. They average over 250 yards passing allowed in a game. So if Cam's playing, that's fantastic. Let's get the ball down the field. Let's hopefully get the ball into the tight end's hands and to some of these other receivers. Want to see some more Money Parks in this game. Maybe Micah Pittman comes back. I don't know. It's so hard with these injuries, but let's get the ball down the field, test that defense so that the run game opens up. And then if the run game can open up the pass game, I mean, it's just a mutual thing. And then defensively, Utah's going to be fine. They've got a freshman quarterback coming in. He's a redshirt freshman, but this is his first road start ever. And we've seen what happens to freshmen when they start at Rice-Eccles Stadium. If you want to get the big numbers, go to Twitter. I've put it all out there. But basically, they get sacked a lot. They don't complete many passes, and they throw interceptions. So I expect that to happen with Mendoza out of Cal. He looks like a good quarterback, maybe their quarterback of the future. But yeah, I'm looking at this. I see, especially if Cam Rising comes back, Utah should be able to put up their highest point total of the season. Cal gives up a lot of points, and then they should keep them pretty low. So my prediction for this game is 31-10 Utah.
That's not too far off. I'm not expecting Utah to win by that many points. I don't think they'll score that many points.
Even if Cam comes back?
Yeah, even if Cam. I mean, one player does not an offense make, right? We're seeing a lot of other signals that Utah has other issues. They're towards the bottom of the pack in tackles for a loss allowed, kind of I think 56th nationally. Very, very low overall run offense, 115th nationally in yards per carry. And those are signs. Obviously, when you have a quarterback who is not stretching the field and folks are loading into the box and you're seeing all those things, that has a dynamic that impacts everything in the game. But what we've seen statistically over and over again is, sorry, I got to help my family with something. Dustin, do you want to talk about yours?
Yeah, absolutely.
We got dogs, we got families. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, Joe's right. Like the offense, and every Utah fan, whether you have looked at a single statistic, we all know the offense has been bad. It's worse. The passing game is worse, but the running game is not a lot better. But, we talked about this before we got started. The injuries are a big part of that. JJ's a fantastic, Matt, you mentioned it. JJ's a fantastic running back. He's averaging 6.1 yards a carry right now, 6.2 yards a carry right now. And the problem is he's only had 40 carries because he's been hurt. And so, and now we're down to his backup isn't the number 2 guy or the number 3 guy. It's the number 4 guy. And I think Glover, I think the fans are being too hard on him, but he's only averaging, 3.6, 3.7 yards a carry because he's a freshman. It takes a while for most Utah running backs to step up, with one notable exception. And we all know who we're talking about. So
to even interject, I mean, look, Zach Moss even wasn't Zach Moss his freshman.
Right.
And I still consider this as if it was Glover's freshman year, even though it was a sophomore year, because he didn't get a lot of reps last year. And even at that, he'll freely admit to you, he was 20 pounds overweight last year. Like, I'd still venture a guess that he'd still be good dropping a little bit more weight just to get that wiggle and that speed back that much more, because I still think he's, so it's a process for him. He is going to be a special back. It's just not right now.
Well, and you add on too that the defenses have been able to stack the box because they know that Utah's not going to try to throw it deep. So you got that going against them too.
Yeah, and Utah has played some of the top run defenses, not just in the Pac-12, but in the country. UCLA's in the top 20. Oregon State's in the top 20. I mean, they're excellent run defenses that Utah has been facing. The problem is that they're bad pass defenses. Oregon State was a bad pass defense, and Cal is a worse pass defense. Cal is, I was looking at it earlier, they're 115th in the country, which shockingly, as Joe mentioned, is only 10th in the Pac-12. There are 2 worse pass defenses in the Pac-12 than that, in Stanford and Colorado. But Utah's got to be able to take advantage. Now, if Cam's back, I think they will.
Yeah.
If Nate's in charge, or if Brandon's been able to recover from his injury and he's in charge, we don't know. Nate made some great throws in the Oregon State game and made some terrible throws in the Oregon State game. And then he made some good throws and his wide receivers didn't help him out. A lot of those things get fixed when you're playing at home for no reason other than you're comfortable in the field. You have fewer drops at home. Just statistically, everybody does. And Utah has one of the best home field advantages in the country. And so I think Utah's ability to take advantage, particularly if we're operating under the assumption that Cam's coming back, I think I'm not quite as solid on the offense as Matt is, but I'm with you kind of on the numbers a little bit. I think 24-10, 24-7, something like that.
Hey, I believe that if it's Nate Johnson or Brandon Rose at quarterback, but I still think Cam's going to pick apart that pass defense. Come on. Cal's pass defense is terrible. If it's Cam Rising, he can play on one knee and throw for over 250 yards against Cal.
Look, I'll make one interjection, one comment on that, and then let's see what Joe's numbers say, and then we can all kind of wrap up. And Dustin, if there's certain PFF things you want to highlight from some of the Cal guys to kind of go along with what Joe's saying with his numbers too. But when it comes to Cam right now, he hasn't been in any of the games yet, but what I've been hearing is he's looked extremely good in practices. Okay. Live games in front of the stand, in front of the crowds, it's a completely different thing, but we all know Cam is a gamer and he rises to the occasion. So again, operating on the assumption that he is back this week, which I am starting to feel good about, again, can change by day-to-day basis. Right. I agree with Matt on that it's going to be a lot easier to put up points, but at the same time too, Utah is also missing a lot of playmakers. So that's the one thing, but Cam just makes that offense so much damn better. So,
and I see everything everybody's saying. We've all watched a lot of football and we've seen teams really transform when they have a different quarterback under center, because it totally changes what a defense has to do. The difference between a pass hitting the guy on his back shoulder and hitting him when he's in stride can be the difference between 10 yards and 70 yards. That kind of thing happens all the time. But so we're talking about this, and all of that is correct. A quarterback can totally transform a football game, a football team, can do a lot of things to change it. We've all seen enough football games to know that can happen. But what I do is I look at the numbers. And when I look at the numbers, what I see is an elite quarterback, and let's call Cameron Rising an elite quarterback. He's top 10 in QBR on a regular basis. He really is that guy. So let's say he is an elite quarterback. When you lose him off of a team and you get a replacement level quarterback, you're gonna score. Your team is gonna score somewhere between 4 and 5 more points a game. In general, instead of one field goal a game, you're gonna get one touchdown a game. That quarterback's specialness is gonna count for one touchdown. He's gonna break a big run down the sideline, or he's gonna throw into a window that nobody else could hit one time a game. And that can be the difference between winning and losing. And then let's say that because Utah's had more struggles than you might expect with the backup quarterback situation, that gap's a little bigger. We're not going to an average quarterback. We're coming down into a below average quarterback play. We're still looking at maybe another 3, 4, 5 points a game. So this football team can still get 7, 8, 9 points better on offense just by trading out the quarterbacks. The problem is that's still not a great offense. Utah is still a pretty long ways off from a great offense. When you look at some of these numbers like explosiveness, Utah's 126th in the nation with 52 plays over 10 yards. And those kinds of issues don't all rest on the quarterback. They rest in every single player. There's 11 guys on the field. There's 11 guys backing them up. And we see a lot of signs that Utah's offense is just not special this year. And I think the fact that Cam Rising is coming back shouldn't make folks think we're going to be back in 2022 mode. There are big differences. There are real issues. And so I'm expecting a strong performance from the Utes. I'm expecting them to win this game. I'm expecting them to absolutely stifle Cal. In terms of final score, I think I'm probably going to say maybe 21-13. I mean, I think Utah's going to score enough points, going to feel pretty comfortable, but I don't think they're going to walk away with this at all. One thing I'm really excited about with this game is Cal is maybe the worst team in the country in getting behind the line of scrimmage. They are 128th in the country in sacks per game. They are dead last in tackles for loss per game at just over 3 per game. That's something that Utah has struggled with. A lot of that rides on the quarterback shoulders. I think with Cam Rising back and playing a team that really struggles to get behind the line of scrimmage, we're going to see a very different, more forward-moving offense. But I'm not expecting an offense that scores more than 20-something points in this game, unless they get a lot of help from the defense, which they do all the time because the defense has been nails. So yeah, I'm going to say 21-13 for my score prediction.
And a quick note on the PFF. Jaden Ott, Cal's top running back, left about halftime of the Oregon State game. He's questionable this week. If he doesn't come back, he is their number 3 player overall on the offense, behind their number 2 running back. But Cal runs the ball a ton. They're about a 65-35 split. They would much rather run the ball than throw the ball. And so if they're left with just kind of the number 2, number 3 running backs, that's a huge difference for them. And then their run defense is really supported heavily by their all Pac-12 potential All-American linebacker, who also left the Oregon State game and is not likely back, although it's possible. Both of them are listed as questionable. But if they're missing both of those, Sermon is the number 2 player on the team, number 3 player on the team in PFF. He's tied with former Ute Xavier Carlton, who we'd like to have back this week, although most of the time he was buried on the depth chart because of how good Utah's defensive ends are. Although, again, with the injury list, it is what it is. So
if he was in Utah, he'd be a defensive tackle. That was part of the reason he moved on.
Yeah,
I mean, he's up to like 280 at Cal even. So he's barely a defensive end, although I think sometimes they list him at linebacker. So Cal likes to run the ball and they like to stop the run. And those two are crucial pieces in that. They're top 2 or 3 players on both sides of the ball. And if both of them are out, Utah fans aren't going to have any sympathy for losing games due to injury, but that's going to make it a lot tougher for them to score. That's going to make it a lot tougher for them to stop Utah's running game, hopefully with Jackson and Jackson back healthy.
That is good news for the Utes. That's their strength. It was already going to be tough for Cal running into the teeth of a 2.5 yard per carry, number 4 ranked in the nation run defense that Utah's been fielding. Without their strongest running back, it's going to be really, really hard for a 65-35 run team to get up and down the field at all. It's going to be I'm expecting a little bit of a mud bowl, a little bit of a slog, but with some more action and excitement for the Utes. And I think we're all of us feeling pretty good about this win and picking a number that's pretty close to that 13.5 spread. trying to remember back. I think both of you guys had the Utes beating the spread. I have the Utes coming up just short, but overall, we're feeling good about Utah moving to 5-1, and I think for a lot of Ute fans, that is the only stat that matters.
Yeah, just win, baby. I think it should be good, though. I mean, my last thoughts are just, look, the emotional side of things, too. If Cam Rising does come back, they're at home. You get that home crowd. Utah's won 26 straight home games. When you throw out that COVID season, it's going to be loud. It's going to be exciting.
Imagine how nuts that place is going to go when
Oh.
Madden kicks on.
My goodness. Good one to get some tickets to, for sure.
Yeah. This will be a good game for that if it happens. I mean, and if it doesn't happen, hey, you know what?
Don't give me grief, all right? Don't jump into my DMs.
This is hypothetical. Hypothetical only.
God.
All right. Well, gentlemen, it's a pleasure as always. Really enjoyed chatting with you. It's great having you on, Dustin, and chat with you a little bit.
Yeah, it's nice being here.
Thanks for
we want you more
insight. Hopefully we can get you back another couple of weeks, and we can keep talking and have some Utes wins to talk about next week.
Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot.